Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another session of Canvas Live. Today, we are excited to bring you an extended agenda from CanvasCon, Indiana. We have Ahmed Lasheb with us today from Indiana University School of Education. He's going to talk to us about the laws of interface design and how to apply them to course design in Canvas. We're excited to have you this morning here. I'm going to hand it over to you, Ahmed, and looking forward to hearing your insights. Good morning.
Thank you, Beret. Hello, everybody. My name is Ahmed Lasheb. I am an instructional design practitioner and a scholar at the Indiana University School of Education. You may wonder what instructional design or instructional design practitioner has to do with laws of interface design. Well, it has the word design first. And second, I'm actually minoring in HCI, so that's my area too. My presentation is titled Laws of Interface Design and how specifically to apply these laws of interface design if you're designing a course in Canvas LMS. So to start with, we'll go over the objectives. We have three objectives for this presentation: identify 7 laws of interface design, apply the 7 laws of interface design to Canvas, and enhance the design of your Canvas course for better learning and teaching experience. So hopefully those are the objectives that we have that you will do once we finish this presentation today. So I want to start with a little story about this guy named Peter Vikovic. He is a web designer, and he published a blog post on January 15, 2014 that made a buzz in the social media world. The blog post is titled 7 Unbreakable Laws of User Interface Design. And in this article, Peter actually gave 7 laws of user interface design, explained their importance, and showed how breaking these 7 laws can cause problems for both parties in the communication channel, the end user, meaning the receiver, and the communicator at the center. So the purpose of my presentation is to show how these 7 laws of interface design, as Peter suggests them, should be applied to course design in Canvas. Each law will be explained in the way Peter did, then I will provide a concrete example on how it should be applied in designing a course in Canvas. We start with the first law, and the law about clarity basically says the user will avoid interface elements without a clear meaning. And Peter gave this example of Gmail. Gmail used to have a clear text navigation at the top of the page when users with one click can access Calendar, Drive, apps, and other Google services. When Google decided to make things simple and moved all these icons to an on-dial pad icon, squared, which is squared in orange there on the slide, a lot of people did not notice that. Thus, Google received tons of support requests. A lot of people got confused and saying, what's that? Where's my calendar? Where things disappear? So this is kind of an example of how that law applies in interface design. Now, if we want to apply that to course design in Canvas, I think the rule applies by recommending the following practice, which is we need to title the pages and the modules using clear and concise words. Most importantly, these titles need to be consistent with what you have in the syllabus or what you communicate to the student via emails and the announcement. As you can see in the example here, we use short and concise words to title the modules and to title the pages inside the modules. They should not be similar or close to each other, even though there's some elements repeat that. So that's one practice we can actually do. The second law will be about the preferred action, or called the law of preferred action. And basically, this law says the user will feel more comfortable when they understand what the preferred action is. Peter version with slight modification from me, the example is Facebook. So upon you access Facebook, which no one needed a trainer or somebody to teach them how to use Facebook because it's very intuitive UI, user will see 2 preferred actions that everyone doing: create a post or answer questions like what's on your mind, or tell the world what you think, or share a photo. And these 2 preferred actions if these 2 preferred actions were hidden somewhere on the home page, or if these actions do not have a slight imperative or interrogative tone, Facebook could end up as empty as many previous social media websites. So that's a way how Facebook applied that law in a really good way. So when thinking about designing courses on Canvas, I think the rule applies by recommending the following practice. We need to ask students, who are the end users in this case, to do actions at the course site explicitly, not in a hidden way. So instead of naming links of the assignment submission, we can add words like read me first or submitted here. We can actually create just a small page at the end of each module, and we call it summary and checklist, and that basically asks them, have you completed these following actions that you were asked to do at the beginning of the module? It has that idea of you ask students to do things explicitly, not implicitly, and just reminds them constantly that there are some actions they need to take on a weekly basis. Moving forward to the third law, which is the law of context. And the idea of this law that the user expects to see interface controls close to the object he wants to control. Example that Peter gave was the famous edit buttons in the LinkedIn. And that shows my previous job where I used to work in Kansas. The user expects actually to see interface elements within the context of objects they can or want to control. So the edit buttons, as you can see above in LinkedIn, in real life, when you want to prepare some popcorn, and that's what I'm quoting Peter here, you go to the microwave and flip the switch on. You don't go to the dishwasher or somewhere else. Otherwise, it will be not practical. Hence, it will be very confusing in this case. Thinking about that law and how it applies to course design in Canvas, we want to keep the areas of student user inputs within the right context. So, for example, if we want the students to put in discussions, discussion boards, we leave that discussion within the menu itself. And Canvas makes things really easy that way. So these laws of interface design can be easily applied to Canvas because Canvas has very intuitive UI by default. So I've seen some faculty, for example, in my work as instructional designer, they link discussion into modules and they link it to other pages and they hide the discussion. And that's something that I totally recommend not to do. Leave the discussion default on tab, move it up if you want to, or organize it in a specific logic order, but do not link the discussion to somewhere else in the content area. So that students, when they go to your course, they click one click on the discussion and it's there. The fourth law is the law of defaults, and the law says the user will rarely change default settings. And the example that Peter gave was the famous ringtone, Nokia 3310 ringtone, or the famous background XP, Windows XP desktop background that we saw in many computers, and it's indeed a lot of people actually avoid to change the default settings in many of their devices. Default settings are very powerful and comes in handy for the vast majority of customers. Most people do not change the background ringtone on their phones, neither the factory settings or their TV sets. In that case, if we were thinking about course design on Canvas, we would like one of the things that we can do is we design a course template with strong default settings. Here at IU, and you can actually go to this link right now. It's go.iu.edu/show, and you can see a lot of templates when you self-enroll in that course. You can see a lot of templates that Indiana University EDS unit designed, and these templates are customizable. They are easy to implement. They're easy to copy over, and I'm working with the School of Public Health on a part-time basis. I help faculty to design their courses, and I find this template very helpful. And they're not really rigid template; they're customizable. You can change them the way you want, and that saves the time for the designer. And also saves them. It also we find it helpful when we work with faculty who want to do their courses by themselves. So they don't want us to do the work for them; they want to experiment themselves. So we give them a template as a starting point, and they can play with it the way you want. So course design templates that comes with the strong default settings will come really handy in this case. Next law will be, or the fifth law will be the law of guided action. And basically that says the user will probably do something if he or she is asked to do it. The example that Peter gave was when you go to LinkedIn again, And this is the profile of my previous boss, who is now with the University of Denver. So there is a big difference between expecting users to do something on their own and asking them specifically to do it. And LinkedIn has this endorse feature, as you can see there. And it's an endorse button that pops up every time you access a profile on your network. And combined with the fact that people, of course, like to give a lot of endorsement to each other and to their friends and to their colleagues to help each other, it made this feature a huge success. So thinking about this law and how it's being applied for LinkedIn, we'll go to Canvas, and we can apply it by asking students or users to take action as soon as they log in into the course or to the system on Canvas. So one of the things is we design a good homepage, and then we put it home so we don't leave that homepage area. And that's basically an example of one of the courses that I designed that tells the student, welcome to begin the course. Here is the things that you need to do. Another example I've seen in another presentation, actually in CanvasCon and IUPUI, there is an informatics faculty. What he does, he changes the homepage on a weekly basis. So the students, every week when they log into the course, they will see only the page that is relevant to that week. So creating multiple pages for every week. He doesn't do modules. He does one page for every week. And then that weekly page for week 3 got changed on a weekly basis depending on the week it is. So the homepage becomes here dynamic, and it changed as the course progresses. So these are two ideas. I think we can apply them to follow this law. Law number 6 is the law of feedback. And the idea of this law that the user will feel more confident if you provide clear and constant feedback. So for example, as Peter said, this is a simple logic. The more users feel that your interface is communicating an action, the more confident they will feel. Gmail, for example, I'm still quoting Peter here, is a great example of how good feedback the interface give you, and you will get a clear notification for every action you take, including learn more or undo links. This makes people feel in control and makes them confident to use the product again. Thinking about how we apply this for Canvas course design, I think we can recommend the following practice, which is we put in built-in feedback in every test and quiz on exam questions. So instead of showing student users what are the wrong answers and the right answers, we build in a feedback that goes to them as soon as they finish taking the test and exam, and that will enable students to believe that they have a real teacher behind the screen. Customized feedback is a great step as well. This is a screenshot of a course I actually designed, and I worked with the faculty to put a lot of good feedback if they got the true answer, if they got the wrong answer, and the link if they need to read more about exactly why they got the wrong answer. And that makes makes the Canvas interface as a course communicating with the student through the feedback. Last law will be the law of easing, and basically that law says the user will be more inclined to perform a complex action if it's broken down into smaller steps. This is common sense or logic. Chunking. We do chunking. VoiceThread, and probably most of our audience today are familiar with VoiceThread because it's a famous instructional design tool. Used to have this interface, and the logic's still the same, even that their interface changed a little bit. Basically, VoiceThread nailed this rule, and creating multimedia presentation using cloud software like VoiceThread never seemed easier than before it came to the market. Peter gave the example of forms, saying we all hate filling out long, complicated forms because they seem boring, overwhelming, and hard to complete. Hard to double check, actually. But if you split the form into several steps and show a progress bar, things become pretty manageable. So in VoiceThread, the rule got applied by actually chunking the process of creating a multimedia presentation through 3 steps. First of all, you add the media. Second, you add the audio comment, and then you share. And that's a great way to apply this rule. So if we want to think about applying this rule or law to Blackboard course design, we can break down long modules into smaller pages. So sometimes we have a module that has a lot of content. I do a design of a lot of doctoral level and graduate level seminar, and the faculty say, this is a lot of content that need to be covered in this week. So we need to put a lot of stuff there. So one of the techniques I do is I break down that module into different pages. So I don't put like 2 lectures on the same page, and I put learning objective separately than the rest of the content. So a module becomes have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elements, and the students of course can go go through the model by clicking the next button. So it's a good feature to break the content into smaller pages, better than you have a huge page and you can just keep scrolling. But at the same time, it requires that the students adds more click to that. So are these laws or guidelines or rules? Peter used the word law in his article for a reason. He actually claims that he had never seen a case where breaking this law produced a more favorable result. There is a punishment for breaking that law. And it comes in a form of a grumpy user who rant about your bad user interface. I basically agree with him pretty much. I will call them laws, even though using the word law sometimes is strong when dealing with instructional design or working with faculty and trying to explain to them why this is important. But I have seen in my experience for the last 7 years plus of doing instructional design, anytime there is not clear interface or not intuitive interface of a course, can make things a little bit more difficult for the students and for the faculty. I used to work with a different LMS in my previous job before I came to IU, and I found that Canvas is really strong in a way that has a great default user interface. So applying these laws will not require so much work, because Canvas by default is very user friendly compared to other learning management systems I had experience with. I always end my presentation by sharing the slide that says, remember, it doesn't matter how many laws or resources or guidelines or ideas or theory that you have or technology. If you don't know how to use them, they will never be enough. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much. We will go to the live chat session. If anybody has any questions, you are completely free to post them in the live chat, or you can go to the event page where you registered for this session, and you can post them there as well. We'll make sure that we'll make sure that they get answered there. I don't see any questions coming in at this time.
One question I can ask probably to our attendees, and what do you think of these 7 laws of user interface design? Do you see there are other ways to apply them? I mean, I tried to give example for each law how you can apply, but do you think there is other ways you can apply them?
That's a great question. And I think that would be a great opportunity to kind of open it up for discussion and maybe find other new ways to apply them as well. One question did come in from Shar. Will there be a full list of the 7 laws on one slide, or will you be able to post them, or maybe even share your slide deck with the viewers?
Sure. I will put that with on the community page.
Great. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll post that question about, do you see other ways that we could leverage these laws and apply them in Canvas, and maybe we can continue to generate that discussion and extend that. Thank you so much for your time. I thank you everybody who was here live and participating in the session. Like I said, this was great. Overview and a great sort of start to a conversation that I think, especially in the instructional design group in the community, could really go over well and get much deeper as well. So thank you for your time, and thanks everyone for being here.
Thank you, Beret. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for attending. This is a great opportunity to share what I know a little bit about my world of ID. I'm grateful for this opportunity.
Thank you.